Your Excellency, this county, in terms of devolution, we want to say we have seen the difference devolution has made in service delivery, and we all do support the programs that are being run through enabling legislation in the Senate so that our counties can be able to do their work.
The other thing I may want to bring forward, again for your consideration, as a liaison committee and how it falls back to your respective committees, is something that the control of budget has raised in the last few days. I think there was something around recall of expenditure, a figure of about 7 billion. I think she'll elaborate later in the conversation, where sometimes this money is recalled and thereafter there's no clear indication how it was utilized, and therefore there's a lot of pilferage. So when you imagine we are talking of how the mediation committee was able to mitigate or mediate and raise an additional 15 billion for the county governments, and then we get the reports from the control of budget that about 17 billion seems to go somewhere, it's recalled, and then it vanishes. This becomes a critical issue that, again, I put before you to have a conversation, a deeper conversation on this matter. The rains that came through have caused massive damage in different parts of the country. And therefore, what was primarily forecast as through the budgetary process of the various county governments is likely to be seriously disrupted. So I think it is important that I flag that area so that the Senate can play a critical role in conjunction with the county governments so that we can realign some of the resources effectively to mitigate on the damage that has been caused. You are all aware, if we were to talk about your regions, everybody has a story to tell, whether it is roads, whether it is schools, whether it is the rail system, whether it is water supplies. A lot of damage has been caused across the board. So I think that is an area that may require some special attention.
But let me say that this retreat is a very unique one because it gives us a consultative forum with key independent governance, financial control, and accountability institutions, whose mandate cut across our 2/3 of government. That is why the majority leader is happy when he saw the control of budget, because, and also we also expecting the Auditor General also to join us, because those two institutions are very, very important to the Senate, because we cannot be able to monitor what is going on in the counties without those two institutions working hand in hand with us.
The theme of the retreat is building synergies and exploring interlinkages for effective and efficient operations of committees. And the retreat is structured to achieve 3 broad objectives. First, to review and strengthen collaboration between the executive and the Senate and its committees. And in this regard, we are honored to have on our program the keynote address, which will be delivered by His Excellency the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Secondly, the retreat also seeks to enhance intergovernmental relations between the Senate and institutions that are critical to the success of devolution in order to strengthen and build linkages between the committees of the Senate and these institutions as each discharges their respective mandates.
Following the devolution, In 2013, lives of Kenyans have been transformed through numerous progress and development projects initiated by county governments and increased employment opportunities. Recently, the committee members of the Finance and National Planning in the National Assembly proposed 391.117 billion shillings, whereas the Senate proposed 415.952 billion shillings to the county governments. I want to congratulate our mediation committee from the Senate, who managed to have the county government's equitable share increased to 400.1 billion shillings for the financial year 2024-2025. Senators are playing their part in advocating for increased resources. Nevertheless, governors should be aware that this is taxpayers' money and it is meant for development of counties and not for their frivolous activities, huge wage bills, and unnecessary international trips.
If we are going to deal with this vice on corruption, and the representatives of the governors are here, maybe one needs to figure out to what extent have those corruption prevention committees been set up in our counties, and to what extent are they functioning? Then the question that arises, if you have corruption prevention committees in the county assemblies, where do their reports go? And do we have a mechanism, for instance, of the Senate, through its oversight, of receiving reports of the corruption prevention committees from the county governments for deeper analysis? If you do, well and good. If you don't, maybe there is some window to seriously just think through that perhaps within the framework of legislation, a mechanism can then be put through so that corruption prevention committees from all counties, whether Vihiga, Bungoma, Meru, Samburu, wherever, that there's a format of these reports reaching the Senate so that they can be deliberated and one can try and focus and see whether really there's a serious attempt to fight against corruption in some of those areas.
I remember in this session, we had a discussion with the Speaker of the Senate, and the issue was about the reports that come from the control of budget. And we felt that actually we need almost monthly reports if it will be possible. We want to do very disciplined oversight, not witch hunt. So with the information, you can be able to tell your governor, this is the position as at this month. You know, if you want to craft for me, just do it nicely. Yes. We want to do very professional oversight. You know, when we talk about oversight in the counties, the governors think we're interested in their seats, the next elections. But when we give facts and figures, they will have nowhere to learn to. Because we should tell them, this month you have paid so and so, you are primed for money to pay so and so companies who are primed. And this is the risk which you give the control of budget. But when the control of budget asks for the people who have been paid, they go and change the list and pay their friends, you know? Yeah, they divert the list, they pay some other companies. That is why at some point the control of budget and requesting that she should be able to monitor the accounts. And I don't know which majority or minority which law we should change the Senate to allow the control of budget also to monitor what is happening. You know, when she proposed that, she was almost fought physically by the governor's COG because they don't want to be monitored, the accounts, they don't want to be seen what is happening there.
I am intending to drop a letter to the speakers of both houses because I would like to, in the course of this year, to be able to present to Parliament a sessional paper on Kenya's foreign policy. Because to the best of my recollection, I think we've had sessional papers on many other items, whether agriculture, whether health. There was even the sessional paper on devolution, which provided the framework for the law that set up the legislative agenda for devolution. But over the years, the issue of foreign affairs and the issue of diplomacy has been treated as if it is sometimes just an elitist club around the executive, and we have not quite domesticated our foreign policy to the extent that sometimes Kenyans are wondering, when you talk about these things, what are you really talking about? So I want to entice you as Senate that when I drop this note, I would be very happy also not just to wait for the debate itself, and we shall invite you at other fora as well, but start thinking on how within our foreign policy we can also entrench parliamentary diplomacy. How can we strengthen it? How can we make it better? Because this business is a collective business. And sometimes through parliamentary diplomacy, you can also unlock very serious issues that may be affecting nations. And I think your input in helping us make some better arrangements for the future and for posterity will be very useful. We are gathered here to discuss how the executive and legislature can enhance their relations, creating an enabling environment for the Senate and its committees to deliver on the promise of enhancing service delivery to Kenyans at all levels. It is a worthy and timely occasion to assess the strides we have made and explore ways of cementing the interlinkages between these two arms of government. Honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a new facet of parliamentary business, and the interrelationship between the legislature and the executive is central to the delivery of our government's bottom-up transformation agenda. This does not in any way imply that the two branches of government have not been working together and collaborating on matters of national interest. What is new, though, is the constitutional architecture under which the two arms of government exist, and in particular, the redefined independence of the two arms, the questions and statements framework, and the Constitution of Kenya 2010, and the House standing orders. For the first time in the history of Kenya, we now have a State Department for Parliamentary Affairs under my office that is mandated to coordinate the implementation of the national government's legislative agenda across all ministries and state departments in consultation with and for transmission to the party coalition leadership in Parliament.
We look up to you to guide the House in considering matters that are relevant to your committee in making a decision. I have only maybe one or two things to say to our chairpersons, that perhaps at the end of this session, we will be awaiting your resolutions on what you expect of us as a leadership. because later on during the plenary session when we interact, we will share from the leadership perspective what is it that we feel as a leadership of the committees you should improve on, and we'll be looking forward to hear from you as well what you think that we can do better. Therefore, I want to appreciate this opportunity to interact with you as the chairpersons, and to urge you that you continue working even the more diligently